I had been walking for a bit along the river, along on that very nice roadway, the path next to it, when the path, the, the Camino, turned off a little bit, and I found myself at this campground. You can see one tent pitched over here. It sort of was interesting to me that there was one tent and three trash cans. As I walked along farm country once again, I found this batch of donkeys grazing in a field. Very common to see all kinds of livestock. And berries. When I took this picture, I was not used to seeing berries every time I turned around as I walked along the path, but they are there. Many, many, many of them. They line the path side and the farmer's field side of the way. And it is very common for the peregrinos to reach over and pick a few ripe ones, put them in their hand, take them along, eat them as they go. I did not do much of that, but I've started doing it. Spectacular scenery, simply spectacular scenery. Here you can see the difficulty of the land in terms of walking across it. There's no easy way here, and yet people have managed to terrace in grape vineyard areas, the areas where they obviously have fields set up for planting. Uh, Spectacular scenery is an on. Before long, I found myself looking down at the small village of Thararuts. I don't hold me to that pronunciation. The Basque language, Basque, is unique. It's not an Indo-European language. Nobody knows much about where it came from, and it's full of Z's and K's, and I find it extremely difficult. It was very confusing to me in 18 when I first saw it. But you can see people walking along here, enjoying the day, and you can see the town out there ahead of me. Heading down into the town, I came to a place where we separated the bikers from the hikers. And it's very common for people to bike the Camino. Two friends that I met in 22 were biking the Camino on electric bicycles, which seemed to me to be a little bit strange. But you can see the narrow walking route going down the hill here into the town. And when I found myself in the town, I also found a cafeteria where I could have a cup of coffee and a little something to eat. That sounded like a great idea. And I stopped and placed my order, and only to discover that there was only one young woman who was working in the place. She was doing the order taking, serving the food, cooking it, and everything else in between. My immediate uh, American reaction to this was, oh boy, I'm just stuck here for how long? And then I realized I had plenty of time. I was going to be getting to Thumaya well ahead of any need that I had, and there was no reason not to sit and enjoy this plaza, this square, where people were walking, where the city's machines were washing the sidewalk, and where I could enjoy a cup of coffee and a really excellent breakfast sandwich with real interest and fun. It was a lot of fun. Spectacular scenery as I headed out of town again along the Bay of Biscay. More spectacular scenery to see. That ended up being on this path, which was absolutely smooth, absolutely level, and I hated it. Here you see me looking back. I could swear my memory tells me even now that this is a four-lane high-speed highway next to me. It's not. It's a two-lane road. It's relatively low speed limit. Bikers in quantity on the place. But I was just I was just hating it. I really wished that I had gone up that hill that I was expecting and was away from all this civilization. In the distance here on the right, you can see what is Get Getaria. It's a again a small town, and it's got a really lovely uh, marina, an old fort that sort of guards the place, and over here a sign which is a Basque separatist movement sign saying Basque, the Basque country should be free, return our political prisoners. Uh, this had been a violent movement. As I walked along, this horse came over to chat with me. I had no apple to give it. I almost have begun carrying an apple with me because I felt this horse was so terribly disappointed. I felt guilty. And a sign by one of the albergues, $15 or 15 euros, I'm sorry, 15 euros for the night. You get a towel to take a shower. You get a separate bunk. For dinner, 10 euros per person. Very reasonable prices. And my experience in albergues has been that the dinners are very good indeed. And now I was looking down at the town of Thumaya. You can see here this long and narrow uh, channel that allows ships or boats to come in from the sea. Uh, Down here is the marina, the docks, and you can see this beach and see the width of the beach. It will give you some feel for how extreme in this area the tides are. The tides just absolutely huge, as is kind of indicated in this picture. You can see these boats sitting here hard on the ground, and yet the water down here, this is low tide. At high tide, these boats will float. It's a very tidal area, very strong tides. It's a beautiful area. It's a wonderful area. And now I was entering the town of Thumaya and headed in to look for where I would pick up my train.